Hi everyone, today we are talking about poetry books that I would love to read. I am kind of new to poetry. I only have a few poetry books. However, that's why I want to expand my poetry book collection. Let me know if these poetry books are good. Let me know why you like them or why you don't like them. But anyway, getting into it, Milk and Honey. This poetry book has a lot of reviews because I think it's a best-selling poetry book, and I think was one of the first ones that I was ever recommended to read. I know a few of the poems in them are pretty good too. Also, from what I've seen, they're not long poems. They're short, but they're hard-hitting. How is it so easy for you to be kind to people, he asked, and then she said, "'Cause people have not been kind to me." And I totally understand that because it's when you've been treated wrong your whole life, you kind of realize oh, this is exactly how I don't want to treat people, you know? You mustn't have to make him want you, he must want you himself. I totally agree with that because I noticed that a lot of girls do this thing where they're just they change the way they look for men, they change the way they dress for men, they change their makeup for men, they do a lot of things for men. So many people I know of even went to get plastic surgery, and I was like, why'd you do that if you didn't want to? And they were like, oh, because my boyfriend said to. And I was like, bro, leave him. It's okay to leave people who don't truly love you. If you have to change for somebody, then they don't love you. So because we're on the topic of RUPI KAUR, I really wanted to talk about the quote cringe TikTok she posted. RUPI KAUR is a really, really, I think, famous poet. I think she's been on a lot of different interviews and stuff. I think I think Canada's #1 poet. I could be wrong, but I know whenever I hear of her, people are they know who she is. She's a really, really popular poet, right? And on TikTok, she posted this video, which I'll put in here.
You must have known you were wrong when your fingers were dipped inside me, searching for honey that would not come for you.
And a lot of people are like, oh my god, she's so cringe. Why does she talk like that? Why does she do this? Why does she write the way she writes? People just are trying to tear apart the way that she, I guess, speaks. And first of all, I think it's normal for artists to be very different in the way they speak, the way they dress, the way they act, because they make art. They're really creative people, you know what I mean? And she's probably really, really proud of the stuff she writes. So of course she's going to talk about it like it's a really, really amazing thing. And when I see her on that TikTok speaking, reading her own poetry, I don't view it as cringe, I view it as passionate. She sounds like a really passionate person. I think it's really great the way that she reads her poetry. She reads it like it's the best thing ever. As she should, she should be proud of how far she's come. And what I've noticed though is that, from at least my perspective, the things that I've seen, when men do things like this, people are like, oh my god, he's so hot, he's so cool. But when women do it, people get really, really weirded out. And I think it's because people just love to hate on women who are winning. And I love her confidence, I love how passionate she is. I'm mad I don't have any of her poetry books because the previews I've seen are incredible. The way she speaks, incredible. There's a few interviews she's been in too, where she basically was explaining her poetry and the stuff that she has accomplished, and I'm like, that is so, so cool. I just feel when men do these things, people are like, oh wow, he's so amazing, he's so cool, that's so awesome. But the second women do it, people either say the woman is unattractive, or they say other things like how she's not that good, she's overrated. You know what I mean? It's really, really weird. For example, even in music, I've noticed that when men are singers, everyone's like, they're hot, they're cool, I'm proud of them, they're so amazing, they're so talented. However, when it comes to people like Halsey or even Lana Del Rey, Melanie Martinez, a lot of people will just be they'll criticize the singer's looks, their behavior, how they're overrated, how the way they talk is weird. It's just really strange. People love to hate women. And it's just so weird because it feels like men can't do any wrong. but everything women do is a problem. Anyway, moving on. When he leaves you, I'm pretty sure this book focuses on like a breakup. I guess grieving. You know, it's so sad because it's like the person didn't like pass away, but you have to like grieve them leaving or when they leave you. I guess it's like how to recover from that, or at least that's how I interpreted some of the previews. But anyway, pillow thoughts. I believe it's called pillow thoughts because a lot of the poems sound like thoughts you have at night when you can't sleep. You kind of just, you might slip into those like depression thoughts, and they can be really hard hitting or really like sad. You're like, why is my mind torturing me? You know? But I believe a lot of these poems aren't meant to make you depressed, but rather, I guess, see the light at the end of the tunnel. I also have Aphrodite Made Me Do It on my list. This is a poem series, and I believe it's romance centered because, like, Aphrodite, you know, is mentioned. Aphrodite is the goddess of love. And I haven't looked at this poem, like, any of these poems in, like, a long time, but from what I've heard about it, a lot of people do love this book because it's, like, romance related, love related, and although I don't like romance, I really do love love related poems and even breakup related poems. It's just so emotional, it's so raw, it's so real. I also have this book on my list called This Is Me, Poems for the Chronically Ill and the Undiagnosed, as well as a poetry book for sad, messed up teenagers. A lot of the poems I think in this book are very like mental health related, which I think it's that because I remember when I heard of it the first time, I read a few of the poems and I was like, wow, this is so relatable. Not in like a happy way, but as in a broken way, you know? And I never got to purchase the book. I never got to finish it. I only read like a few poems out of it. But yeah, it's really very relatable in like a very sad way. But it's good to not feel alone. It's good to read about somebody who like has the same thoughts as you because it's if you feel like you're being understood, you feel not alone. And yeah, it's sad that this person may have the same thoughts that you do, but it's, I guess, good to know that you're not the only one. Heroides. I'm so bad at reading some words. But basically, this is like a love poem type of book from what I have seen because it's like certain like Greek myths, but like love focused from what I've seen. Like, anyone I've ever heard of talk about this book, they're always like, yeah, it's love poems from Greek myth to Greek myth. I think the ancient love stories are just, like, so beautiful. A lot of them are really tragic, but they're just so nice to read about. Speaking of love, To the Man I Love Too Much and The Ones Who Never Loved Me Enough. I don't know why I have, like, so many, like, love-related poems on here. But anyway, all day I dream about sirens. In case you don't know, sirens are mermaids, pretty much, or like water nymphs. And I love mermaid poetry. You know, I haven't seen a lot of it, but whenever I do, I really do seem to like it. I love like the metaphors regarding mermaids, like lust or power, you know, I think it's like so incredible. Like, even though these myths are like thousands of years old regarding mermaids, or even other, like, mythical creatures, or mythical people, you know, they still seem to affect us to this day. People still write about it. But moving on, Dodge the Rain. This is another book that is focused on love and our place in it all. I have so much love poems on this list. I also have Sappho, the earliest and most famous Greek poet who is a woman. These poems are about love, friendship, rivalry, family. Don't let life cause you to believe that you can't be anyone other than who you were in the past. You can always begin again. I think this poetry book, from what I've seen of it, it just really gives that vibe of like rebirth and like starting again, which is very, very important for a lot of people because like a lot of people just want to end it all. And I've been there before, but like it's really important to know that you could always like start again. But anyway, The Sun and Her Flowers. I'm pretty sure this is the poetry book that I have been really, really wanting. The poetry book is written in like sections, so it's like wilting, falling, rooting, rising, blooming, like flower metaphors. This is one of the poems that really made me uncomfortable and want to read this book because although I hate being uncomfortable, it was like relatable in a way. This poem is called The Art of Growing. I think it's so traumatic when you are born female and you're raised to be a girl, and it's just like the way men treat you and the way that you get harassed for it, and even the way girls might pick on you. It's like it's so hard to go from being a kid to all of a sudden overnight you have a different body, and it's just you don't feel at home anymore. You know, you really don't. And it was so refreshing to see that I'm not the only one who thinks like that, you know? Because, like, I went through so much dealing with growing up. And although this story, this poetry book doesn't have everything I went through, just hearing little things like this is like, wow, I relate to this because whenever I talk about how I feel about growing up, a lot of people are like, I have no clue what you talk about. I have no clue what that means. I don't relate to you. But then I read this and I was like, I relate to you. Like I love reading relatable stories. Not when they're too relatable, I guess, but yeah, it's just nice to hear that you're not alone. Like it's sad obviously, but it's also just kind of, you know, refreshing, I guess. Also the book Homebody. Yeah, I thought it was like so sad the way people were calling her cringe and how they were like, why does she talk like that? Why does she move like that? Like, let her embrace her poetry the way that she wants to. And plus, like, if I was a poet, I would also talk like her. I would also try to write like her. You know what I mean? Because, like, so cool. So amazing. Like, I remember when I saw that video of her, like, reading her poetry, I was like, wow, I am so intrigued. I love it, you know? Like, would you rather her read it with no emotion? Like, I think poetry is meant to be emotional, and it's meant to be really, I guess, like, extra and I guess like raw or real. You know, it's poetry. It's coming from your heart. You know what I mean? I love it. I love passionate people, and I think it's so creative the way she goes about things. I've been talking for way too long, but I also want this book called I Hope You Stay, and it's the same author who made Pillow Thoughts. Also, Maybe I'm Bad, Goddesses, The Complete Poems of Sappho again, but maybe translate it differently. Yeah, that's literally all. I've been talking for way too long, but yeah, if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. Anyway, I will see you guys next week. Bye!